Hello, welcome to a sort of off-the-cuff devlog here, but it is as promised. So we're going to be taking a look at the Feathered Serpent and its progress this week, everyone. And this is featuring a live, this is my webcam. You can see some greenness. I have a green screen, but when I wave my hand, it's a little blurry. But moving on with the video here, the Feathered Serpent is, let me shrink myself down, currently at, bing, 46% done. Only 1% up from last week. Why? Well, I did not work on it as diligently as I thought I would. Spoiler alert, I think that always happens to me. Also, if I look over here, it's because I'm looking at myself. Really, I should look up here, so I apologize. But I did get a lot of planning done, and I did get a little bit of work on the Feathered Serpent done. So let's go ahead and just look at the planning here, and we can go over that. If you're just interested in where the Feathered Serpent's at, this is where it's at. And there's not a whole lot of new stuff. But this will showcase some of my thoughts and ideas moving forward into the future. So if you're interested in that, stick around. So we're going to look at this. I took up a photo, and then I've edited some of it here in Paint. So I am going to move myself to the right hand of the screen here, because I am going to be drawing on this side here. So the forest, I separated out the game into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different areas. And I need to switch this to multiply. Maybe? Is it here? Hello? I'm losing my mind. There we go. Okay. The city, river, and temple. Okay. But what I've learned from myself and from game dev is you need to shrink your scope down as much as possible. So I just wrote out all my ideas, and then I cut. I just practiced cutting and cutting to get the game down. So I actually ended up cutting out the entire river section. It is cut out of my game. I was planning on doing a fun river section. This was inspired by Aztec mythology. And all of these things that we see to the right here is cut content that could be featured in a DLC or in updates, but as of right now, it is all cut. So let's go over what it is remaining in the game, and then we can go over some of the cut content, and maybe we can tease some stuff there. If we look at the forest, we are sitting at a very delicious 90% done. So the forest has the following enemies: worms, the worm spawner. So I'll just mark these off as we go down. Has the worms in the spawner, has the monkey. It has the sword Giljaw right there. He's an enemy. And Giljaw, I don't know. I kind of want to connect my two games, my Inferno Dice and this game, but we're just calling him that for now. Spear Giljaw. We have the green pterosaur, a very blurry blue pterosaur here. The Dino Walker, the baby Dino Walker. And that's it. These were all ideas that I had, putting in a mimic for the chests, putting in a triceratops, blue egg spawner, because right now there's only these green pterosaur spawners, and bringing back the little flower bugs. If you looked at my game early on and followed the development, you will have noticed that they kind of got cut. This is what they looked like, these little guys. I was planning on bringing them back, but I said, hey, I'm just going to cut it. As for traps, we have the dragon statue. That's done. Spikes right there. Spike trap, done. I had some other ideas, like there's a banana and you pick it up and suddenly all monkeys are aggressive towards you. A fire pit, and mini dragon statues. Also, it says right here, Big Giljaw as a potential boss. These are some different updates that I was planning, so sneak peek at kind of my thought process. The first update was going to be an Underworld update in August of 2023. Ancient Gods update, December 2023, and Land Before Time update. I love that cartoon show, and I was going to be in May of 2024. And these were going to feature different alternate enemies. As you can see, they're color-coded here. This update would feature this new trap and these new enemies. This one, the red one, vice versa. Vice versa? The same? I don't know. So that's the forest. The forest is 90% done. Why is it only 90%? Because I still have to finish the boss. Now, let me go ahead and actually pull up what I have of the boss. Should have done that before. Here it is. So if we go ahead and take a look here, I planned out, he's going to be very different looking. It's going to be this bigger looking boss, and he needs a walk cycle, an attack cycle, This is him picking up the rock that he will then throw. So just various things like that. But this is what I want him to look like. This is what he's going to look like. And it's quite a drastic change from what the boss currently looks like, which I will pull that up as well very quickly here. This is what he currently looks like. While I do like this, and it does feel more like my style, it also just feels like a squished guy. I might bring him back in a different capacity as an alternate boss, but as for right now, I think I want to try and make this work and see if I can't get this to look kind of like my style, and I guess we'll just see. He'll behave the same. He's going to have a couple different mechanics. The skull will be a separate sprite that I layer on top of his head, and that will be a breakable part. Once you break it, he has different movesets and things like that. So yeah, that's why I say the 10% is just the boss, because the forest is pretty much content complete. All the levels are working. There's very minimal bugs. I have all the enemies done and programmed in, and they feel great. So it really is just bug fixing, which I imagine is 1 to 2%, and then the boss, which is probably 8%, because I know his mechanics, and I just need to draw in his sprites and tweak the boss scripts a little bit. So a lot of it's already there, which is very nice. As for the wilds, I put that at 75% done, as you can see there. So the wilds is also almost content complete. We have the gas worms, Tiki runners, which is him. Now, this is highlighted in yellow. I want to do a Tiki mage. So it would pretty much just be this guy. He has a little staff. He'll lift it up. It'll shoot magic at you. I have the raptor right there. Stegosaurus right there. And the raptor's done. Animations are complete. Stegosaurus animations complete. Enemy done. Pteranodon. This, I might change it. So instead of it being one big eye of 2 eyes, I just want to make it more like a dinosaur. I want that to be kind of a bigger theme, instead of this weird alien-looking one-eyed creature. So Pteranodon is mostly done. The plant enemy right there, as you can see, done. Here's the Pteranodon spawners. Now the water elemental is something that I decided to cut. That is why it's outlined like this. It's cut. Traps. We have obviously this, spikes. I wanted to create an arrow trap, which should be very simple to make, and it's not gonna take any time out. I could probably do it in 30 minutes. So that's why it's there. Poison pits, also something I could probably do in, like, honestly, 20 minutes, 10 minutes, like, you name it. And so that's, I'm going to add in this enemy, which should be very simple. I'm going to add in the arrow trap and the poison pits. And then there's the giant plant boss, which I already have his tendrils working and functioning in-game, and it's a little fiery spit that spawns the tendrils. So I have all of those done. It's just this plant design I don't like. The plant design is going to be more like there's 3 heads sticking out from vines here, and you kill each head. And each time you kill a head, they'll retract back into this giant plant thing, and you'll have to go through killing all of these to pull a head back out. Something along that nature. And so that's why it's at 75%. Like I said, I think the boss will account for maybe 15%. And then that would put us at 90. And I think the other 10% is just the Tiki Mage, the Arrow Trap, and Poison Pits, and fixing the levels, making sure that they work, and just hammering out those details. So, wow, 75%. Pretty much done. I could finish that very... Honestly, if I just wanted to get both of these up to 100 by next week, which I think would be a great goal, I could. So, and that would be doing both boss fights. As for the ruins, I put this at 55%. Now, why at 55%? So let's take a look. We have the bats done, rock walkers, this dinosaur done, the mini rock walker as well. We have the spike worms, which is here and here. Now I believe that the spike worm is done, but I might have to edit in some stuff because I want him, when you kill him, to shoot out spikes. We also have the trader. So these are the traders, okay? They're what I based my gill jaws off of, these guys. So you can see they have very similar, like even the hair is similar. And I like that. Like, I liked keeping those same themes with the gill jaws. However, I do like the idea of there being like traders guys who are working with the saurians or these dinosaur lizards. But I don't necessarily like how simplistic they look right now. I would want to do some tweaks to them. And I think it'd be really cool to give them like reptilian eyes, kind of like how these guys have reptilian eyes. So they're like slowly turning into these reptilians. They're the traders. So with some slight tweaks to them is what I want for the trader spear and sword, but pretty much they're done. They're just going to be copies of of these guys, just with more health and maybe attack a little faster. So, and the rock elemental as well, he's completely done. Content complete. So really, we only have these 2 enemies, which is not a big deal. And this is a little hut spawner. We'll have the dragon statues. We'll have these breakable spikes. We'll have the breaking platforms, which I forgot to stick in the little breaking platform, but we do have breaking platforms. What I wanted to add in, not the flame jets. Like I said, that's cut content, or moved content, rather. Moving it to the temple area. I want exploding barrels, which should be simple. A repeating arrow, which will be a copy of this trap. So once I get this trap done, it'll be a copy. And instead of firing once, it'll just always fire. So it should be very simple to implement once I get it working in the other area. Then we'll have crumbling rocks and ruins. This one I might cut, but I could put in like these fun crumbling rocks that once you step on them, they crumble. With these like little falling rocks that'll fall down and hurt your character. So stuff like that. And I actually have the code for falling stuff put in this icicle. This is also cut content, but I have this icicle. When you walk underneath it, it shakes and falls. So I could take that exact same code, and all I need to do is draw the sprite assets in order to do the crumbling rocks. So there's a lot more to add in here in the way of traps, but that's like a day's work, is adding in the traps and fixing the traders. The other big thing here would be fixing the levels, and it would be fixing the boss fight, or incorporating this boss fight. So this boss, he's actually a little more far along than this plant area. I have the basic mechanics down. I have this basic shape down, which I like. Basically, it is this old magical structure that it has a ruby for an eye. When you break it, his jaw opens up and he's stunned, and there's this dinosaur inside, and you shoot that dinosaur inside. How I came up with this idea was a little dinosaur toy that I saw, and you can stick the dinosaur on top of the other dinosaur or put it in his mouth, and I just loved it, and I want to stick it in my game. So that's that boss. It needs to be, fixed. Like, there's a lot that needs to be done here. So that's why I put it at 55%. I think the boss is probably going to take up 20% of that. He's just a little more in depth, and he'll be a little more complicated than this boss or than this boss to do. And then obviously just fixing these. Honestly, I might feel more confident saying that this is 65% done. But there is a lot of glitches, and I have to fix all of the levels in here still. When Godot updated, it broke a lot of my stuff. So there's lots to do there. Now here's where it gets into some more hypothetical territory. So I did the city, and then it will go temple. And the temple will be the last area in the game. It was going to go into the river, like I said. So the city is going to have a Saurian swordsman, which is him. And he's actually in the game. He works. He's functional. I don't necessarily like his sprites or how he moves, but so he could technically be considered done. But I want to do a spellcaster, which will probably be blue, and a bowman, which will probably be green colored, and then a brute, which will probably be purple or yellow colored. They're very simple. I mean, the bowman is just going to aim, very much like the spears, but he'll move and he'll run away from you. Spellcaster will teleport away from you if you get close to him. Think like the Koopa, Magic Koopa guys in Mario. And then the brute is just, think of him kind of like the Velociraptor. He's just going to run at you and chase you down and kill you. He's got spikes on his back. He's going to look vicious, kind of like this hulking monstrosity. Armored Raptor, I have the first sprite done. This is kind of how I would like them to look. So it's just a matter of taking the old Raptor sprites and redrawing them all with this armor on. The Armored Pterosaur not done. Armored Pterosaur blue. Oh, I guess I forgot that I did this, but I did end up cutting the Brute and the Armored Pterosaur to save time. So I will only have to add in the Spellcaster and the Bowman and the Armored Raptor, which shares the same AI as the other Raptor. He'll just be armored, so it's just a matter of drawing the sprites. And an Armored Pterosaur, which, hey, is going to have the same AI as the Pterosaur. Brachiosaurus, I want there to be more dinosaurs in my game to make my game more interesting. As you can see here, the first area I think is decent. It has like these flying enemies. It has enough dinosaurs. The second area I think is the coolest in regards to enemies. It has a Stegosaurus, a Velociraptor. Like, I feel like it's a lot cooler. The ruins is decent. I mean, it has some cool stuff with the elemental. But, yeah. So, I want to put in a Brachiosaurus, basically. And the Brachiosaurus, the Saurians can ride on top of him. And that, honestly, this is in danger of being cut content, in all honesty. So it's okay. The boss is going to be the Purple Saurian. That's some deep lore and some earlier videos. It's basically the person who killed the main character originally. The temple will be our last area. I put the city as 5% just because the planning is there. The ideas are there. But, I mean, the boss is completely... I don't even know what the boss's mechanics would be. Nothing's drawn up with it. There's no tile sets made. Nothing. So let's have 5%. It's just the idea stage, really. Temple, 1%. Like I said, there's no tiles drawn. There's no background elements drawn. The only thing that I have is this, which is probably going to change, this yellow-looking dinosaur, which would be either a guardian saurian, probably. I decided to cut these two, the drakes and saurian abominations, so there will be acolyte, a little spellcaster, maybe a guy with a dagger, guardian, which will probably look something like that, a dread raptor, which will look like a very scary-looking raptor, protector golem, probably be like a golden-looking reanimated knight, dread wraith is going to behave a lot like the tiki ghost, stone statue guardians that come to life, or something like that. Kind of like, same idea as this guy, but like a full body or something like that. As for the traps, flame statues, lava statues, ghost pots, which create little ghosts, which I thought was just a fun idea. I could literally just reuse the tiki ghost. Excuse me. False floors, basically the thwomps from Mario's falling stuff that then comes back up. Swinging balls and chains, flame jets. Basically the Bowser level in Mario. Then, obviously, the final boss, the Feathered Serpent. So, that's the 5 areas that I'm planning on putting into the game. That is their percentages of where they are. 9%, 55, 90, 75, 55, 5, and 1. These ones are also higher up there because the levels are done. The 75% and 55%, which is very nice. So each of these is probably like a 2-week-long ordeal, the temple and the city. Maybe even a 3-week-long ordeal. But hey, let's briefly go over the cut things in the game that could come back. Obviously, this whole river. I was going to have you hop on a river as you go to the entrance to the temple. There's going to be river spear saurians. They're going to be frilled and look really cool. Plesiosaurs, the boss is going to be plesiosaur. Serpents, piranha. These flying fish flyers that kind of look like the things from Avatar. Large waves are going to be traps, water jets. Basically, you're going to sit on the boat and the level is going to come at you. Still a cool idea that I could put in the future. We have an Ankylosaurus that you could not hurt from on top. He actually turned into the Stegosaurus. I was going to say you could kind of see, but not really. He changed quite a bit. We have rock walkers, rock spikes. I have a whole caves area and a whole deep jungle area that are just cut from the game that are made and actually have levels. Like the rock area has a lot of levels, and it has, these spikes. It has basically enemies in it that are. It's more content complete than the city, and I'm cutting it. But I'm reusing the enemies in here. Like for example, this worm was in the caves area. Or the tikis were going to be in the caves area heavily. Stuff like that. We have this little plague pterosaur. Little pteranodon here that I might reuse as like one of the armored pterosaurs. This base-looking one. We have the glitch raptor. It was just a funny reference. I still might include it in the game. But basically it's a raptor that has a 1% chance of spawning. That is very tanky. We have the falling ice structures and ice level where you can fight snowmen. Where if you shoot them, they'll take their head off and throw it at you. And that's the only attack that they do. We have the ice bats. We have this guy who has a chance to spawn in the jungle, but I'm cutting him from the game. We have 2 references to other games. We have this alien-looking guy and this lone mushroom. And they are from other indie games that I believe are out now. But I don't believe... I made them to promote my game when I was doing Kickstarter stuff. But I am going to take them out of my game because I don't actually believe I have permission to use these. And they were just for funny little GIFs. But if I could get permission, I don't mind putting them in my game as Easter eggs. But that's something that'll come later. I don't want to have to worry about contacting them and getting permission. These are other variants that got cut of this small guy. This is going to be in the caves area. This is going to be in the jungle area. This is my favorite coloring scheme. This is the one I would bring back at the bottom here. This character, this water elemental, is actually completely functional and in the game working. But he doesn't super fit thematically as a reference to Warcraft. I don't want to have to come in here and edit all of this stuff. And he is a little buggy with his actual character. And instead of continuing with this idea that I do not like, and I feel like it's just kind of this weird thing, and because the Wilds already has so many different enemies in it, I was like, I can cut him. And basically the idea was to put him into the river area if I ever brought that area back. This is an alternate boss for the main boss that I've cut. These are eggs they're just big versions of eggs that could come back for bigger pteranodons that are cut. Is a plant creature that I cut from the jungle. He has some cool attack animation potential here. And then we have this little tiny T-Rex that was cut. But he actually is pretty far, well done on the animation side of things if we look at this. So he might be something that I consider bringing back out. I just don't know where I would put him. If anything, I think I'd probably put him in the forest, because I think the majority of people play my game to the forest, and then I think a large majority drop off, and they don't see the rest of the content. So I want you to see some cool stuff, which is why the forest is cool with these dinosaurs, the wilds. And the forest is cool. They have a lot of dinosaurs. So I'd probably want to put him either in the forest or the wilds. Maybe we could put him in the temple area, but I think it's just too far later on. There's already going to be cool stuff in these areas, so. And this was the Feathered Serpent sprite, but he does not fit the current look of the Feathered Serpent, so I am cutting this from the game as well. I say cut. I'm just going to redo it. But this was the original Feathered Serpent. This was his body, and this was going to be his head. Yeah, it looks very... I like it. I do like it. It seems more like a dinosaur. So this could come back. This design could come back, but in the form of an Allosaurus boss or a T-Rex boss, just not the Feathered Serpent. Other than that, that's really all there is to go over. I also was able to test out a couple of things with the controller and figure out more about what I wanted there, and I was able to better map out. I do have it on a piece of paper here. Better map out progression when it comes to Bloodstone upgrades, and I'll read them off quickly here. I want you to be able to upgrade the ones that currently exist: attack damage, attack speed, move speed, crit chance. But I also wanted to include crit damage, gold, Bloodstone drop chance, HP, item pedestal appearances, and death defiances, or lives essentially, so that you could have 2 of those or something like that. Anyways, that's it. Take a deep breath. That's it, everyone. Thank you for watching this update. Once again, this is where we are currently at. I appreciate all the comments and suggestions and ideas. If you have any ideas for these later areas, or think that there's any content that I should switch around or cut, let me know. And I will see you guys next Monday for hopefully be able to show off more actual game stuff. Anyways, see ya. Thanks for watching.